I'm walking out to my car. I put my son and my wife's G-Wagon in the car seat to take them to the park, and I hear FBI freeze. I look over to my left, and there's 8 red dots on my chest. Shohei Ohtani never gambled, but the interpreter, who I met at a poker game after the Angels game, things escalated very quickly. He bet $326 million through my website in about 20 months.
How much?
The problem with this whole case, and the reason why Las Vegas is under a lot of scrutiny, basically they turned a blind eye. My guidelines are 3 to 4 years. I'm not afraid of being in prison. I'm afraid of being... If I would have heard that message and listened to it 5 years ago, 4 years ago, my life would be so different.
All right, what it is, Brad Lea back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today in the studio, folks, I got a real treat for you. This dude, from billion-dollar betting and Vegas high roller suites to 29 federal agents raiding his home at gunpoint. Matt Bowyer. Is it Bowyer?
Yes, sir.
Matt Boyer's story isn't just gripping, it's real, raw, and radically transformational. And quite frankly, it's happening right now. For over a decade, Matt was the face behind the curtain of high-stakes gambling in America. He was one of the most recognized casino gamblers in the country, betting millions and building relationships with athletes, celebrities, casino executives, you name it. Behind the scenes, he also ran one of the largest underground sports betting operations in the United States, processing billions in wagers. But that was only part of the story. Matt also ran the largest retail commodity brokerage in the country for 11 years, leading massive teams, managing risk, and playing at the highest levels of legal finance before crossing the line into illegal bookmaking. On October 5th, 2023, the facade shattered. 29 federal agents stormed his home, seizing cash, jewelry, hard drives, and any remaining sense of control. In the aftermath, Matt became a scapegoat in Las Vegas, blacklisted, banned, and blamed as the fall guy for widespread casino fines and alleged money laundering failures. Once courted by Vegas, his name became taboo behind closed doors. But instead of running from it, Matt chose to own it, all of it. He wrote Recalibrate, a powerful memoir that chronicles the rise, fall, and rebuilding of a man who lost everything and found something greater. Not just a cautionary tale. Recalibrate is a blueprint for accountability, transformation, and living with purpose. Today, Matt is a father, husband, business owner, and relentless truth teller. He owns a Brazilian jiu-jitsu studio, mentors young men on mindset and ownership, and uses his platform to help others avoid the same mistakes he's made. He's not here to be liked. He's here to be real. This isn't a highlight reel, folks. It's real life, and it's unfiltered. Welcome to Dropping Bombs, Matt. What's happening?
Brad, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Dude, I appreciate you being on here. I know we had to do it remote because you're not allowed to leave the state or something.
Yeah, I can't travel outside of the state of California. And, I've been on quite a restraint, let's call it, for the last 2 years, ever since October 5th of 2023.
So let's go back a little bit. You were running a legal commodities brokerage, making probably good money. Yeah.
Big money. I got greedy though. So greed usually finds its way into, to the wrong hands. And what I mean by that is when you're able to make a lot of money doing something you actually love, it's real easy to get passionate about it. And that's what happened to me. I love sports and I love gambling. You combine those two together and you create, for me, running a very big sports betting operation. So that was where my passion was.
And you knew it was illegal the whole time?
Yeah, absolutely. But what started was as a hobby turned into a business. And very similar to yourself, everything I've done in my life, I've done 120%. So getting into something that has a little gray area could turn ugly for a person with that sort of appetite for competition and getting somewhere in life. So, at 16, 18, I was always gambling. And then at 20, 21, that when you're allowed to go to Vegas, that's when it really kind of exploded.
So I think the facts are multiple casinos, including the Venetian and presumably Resorts World, allowed you to wager massive amounts of money despite knowledge or at least suspicion that there was an illegal bookmaker happening.
100%. That's kind of the problem with this whole case, and the reason why Las Vegas is under a lot of scrutiny right now. Um, you know, they were allowing a lot of people like myself to come in there and, let's be honest, give them money, lose money, and they're under a lot of scrutiny right now for the KYC rule, know your customer, and the SARS acts and all these things that the government implemented to avoid this. And I basically they turned a blind eye to allow good customers to come in and blow a bunch of money, which I don't blame them. They wanted the money, and now they're catching some heat for it. And I'm really the fall guy, along with a couple other guys in this case that brought a lot of eyes to the government, or I should say, the eyes came to them first, and then they brought eyes to us, because that's really what happened.
So basically, the feds came to them and they said, well, they're the ones that made the bets.
Yeah, if you look into the case, what happened was in 2020, there was a bookmaker in Newport Beach, California, that got busted, and he had a relationship, or friendship, I should say, with some casino executives. So, of course, when they raided him, took his phone, there were some names in there that led to a lot more investigations in Las Vegas. And of course, when federal government starts showing up at people's houses, people start talking. And then it led to other bookmaker busts, including myself and a guy named Damian Forbes, which were huge gamblers in Las Vegas. Damian lost 12 million at the Resorts World. I lost 13. So that's $25 million in losses in really only a few years. So of course the casinos are going to give up that information.
So are they in trouble?
Yeah, Damien's in the same case I am. I'm sure you heard Scott Sabella, that name that got let go at the Resorts World. He's obviously involved in this case, and many people. Donnie Tobby got fired there. Many people got let go at Resorts World. Their numbers have been down drastically since we left. Of course, they're really struggling. I think all of Las Vegas is kind of struggling right now on the gambling side, partially because of this, because they now they're tightening their ship. They got to get rid of a lot of customers who are in the gray area, and frankly, a lot of gray area people gamble, so they're losing a lot of business.
Well, not only that, I mean, isn't it starting to become legal?
Yeah, I mean, so 38 states you can gamble sports right now, right? The ones you can is California, Texas, and et cetera. And within 2 years, they're all going to be legal as well, anyway.
So don't you feel a little bit like wrongly convicted, or you're not convicted yet, correct? Or are you?
Well, I pled guilty, so I'm convicted. I just have to find out exactly how much time I'm going to be serving in federal prison.
Okay, so you already were found guilty.
Oh, for sure. I pled guilty immediately. There was nothing to fight.
Well,
Zero chance. I had nothing to fight.
so you were banned from the Venetian at one point for suspicious behavior, but then you were allowed back in. Why do you think they allowed you back in? Because they wanted the money?
Of course. Let's be real. The truth is, I've always had legal business as well. So it wasn't like I was just a bookmaker. I own a jujitsu studio now. I sell artificial turf right now for a company. I've always been an entrepreneur. I used to own a boat dealership. I ran a commodity firm for 11 years, as you stated, and I've made a lot of legal money. So my tax returns were always very sufficient, but they weren't sufficient to show $13 million in losses. So everyone in that town, being Las Vegas and other casinos, knew I was a bookmaker. I didn't hide it. I came in with an entourage. When the FBI raided my home, I have a 4-year-old boy. He was 2 at the time, and he's been on 44 private jet flights all across the country to casinos, mostly Vegas. So that tells you how many times in 2 years he went to Las Vegas with my nanny and my entourage. Because when I would come in, it was a G5 with 16 of my friends and family flying in. Of course, the penthouse villas. You've seen all that. You live in Vegas, and from my understanding, your ex-wife was a casino host, right? So you kind of know that side of the fence, right? And when you're courted by Vegas, it's the best service in the world. I mean, I would fly into $50,000 in promotional chips. My wife would get a $25,000 gift card to, Louis Vuitton, whatever. And we would have the butlers would set up my room with a crib and bottles and everything we needed. It was already lined up. Of course, caviar, whatever wine we wanted, Louis, you name it. And I gambled so high, there wasn't a cost they could, it wasn't something I wouldn't get. I have a wine cellar right now with maybe $1 million worth of a wine collection, which I've been selling off to survive. But all of that's from Las Vegas. I'm not really a huge drinker anyway. I would just take it for comp purposes. But I'm just trying to give you a moral of the idea of how much I gambled and how big, and the service level. It's insane in Las Vegas.
Yeah, and a lot of people think they do that if you're winning. They do that if you're losing.
Even more so when you're losing, because they want you to keep coming back, and they're the feeling is really simple, right? It's based on theoretical. I mean, whether you win or lose, but they know theoretical is a word that basically states over time, this is your theoretical loss. So even if you win, they know if they get you back, you're going to lose. I mean, you can't beat that town over time. And it's no different in my business I used to be in. You're betting sports with me over time, you're going to lose. So that's why I became the biggest bookmaker in the country, because I knew that every client I signed up over time was going to lose money to me. As long as I could sustain the money and take the action. And a lot of bookmakers were afraid to take $1 million wagers or big bets. So they bring business to me for that reason. And that's how I built a bigger client base and got the higher net worth celebrities and entrepreneurs and people that really wanted to gamble on a high level.
So they would just give you the money and you'd place they'd place the bet with you.
Yeah, I was the house. I was the casino. I ran my offshore online sports book and casino in Costa Rica actually had blackjack tables. We had craps. We had it all with cameras with live dealers. So you could sit in your house in LA, California, and literally be betting $5,000 on a hand of blackjack with a camera on a person who's live dealing the cards. So we
How
went as
much
far as that.
how much money were you raking in your prime?
Obviously, the story with the professional baseball player where the interpreter was stealing, Shohei Ohtani. He paid me 16.2 million. That's the most I've ever made from one particular client. But I mean, I was moving $5 to $7 million every Monday, literally. I mean, throughout the country. I mean, my operation had about 1,200 clients. My job, Brad, was I mean, as a bookmaker, the hardest part of my job was getting everybody paid throughout the country. You have a guy in, let's say, Kansas, in the middle of nowhere, who just won $14,000. How do I get 14,000 to this guy? It could have been a FedEx, a UPS, it could be a Cash App, a Venmo, Apple Pay, all formats of money, wire transfer, whatever it is. But I paid quicker than anyone in the country, and that's how I kept building my business. Because when people win, they want to be paid, especially through a bookmaker, right? Illegally. And getting paid is the most important part. If you pay them on Monday, Tuesday right away, they're going to continue to want to do business with you over other bookmakers who pay by Friday or Thursday. So that's where I really found a niche in the market to become bigger and better.
So explain what happened. You're sitting there eating breakfast or sleeping. When did federal agents come smashing down your door?
So I actually just got back that particular weekend. I went to Resorts World and had my whole entourage. That weekend they flew us out to Dallas Cowboys game. We had two private jets, G5s. Went to the game. They had a suite for us. I bet 500,000 on the game. I won the game. Cowboys killed the Raiders. Actually, we flew back home. I was down 1 million in the casinos. I won it all back that night. Never won at Resorts World, so it was actually a great trip. I ended up winning. So I flew back, came home, and paid all my customers on Monday. And 3 days later, the FBI raided my house at 9:30 in the morning. Thank God they waited for my kids to go to school. So my 2-year-old doesn't go to school at that time. So I'm walking out to my car. I put my son and my wife's G-Wagon in the car seat to take them to the park. And I hear FBI freeze. I look over to my left and there's 8 red dots on my chest. And it was like a movie. They were in the tactical gear, obviously, the battle ram, bulletproof vest, the whole 9 yards. And here I have my 2-year-old. So I grab him out of the car seat. They allow me to take him around to the other part of the driveway. Of course, they say, "Who's in the house?" My professor, my black belt jujitsu instructor, was there. They cuffed him, put him on a different side of the driveway, and they said, "Who's in the house?" I told my wife and a handyman. So we own a pretty big home in California. So it took them a while to go in and get out my wife, handcuff her. She comes out crying. And then the handyman was just painting. They pulled him out. And about 15 minutes later, with the dog and about 8 guys, they secured the premise. And after they secure the premise, that crew of guys leave. And at this time, there was literally 29 agents and a dog on my property. And it just looked like you would have thought I was Osama bin Laden. Just that's the way it felt. But they separate you. My wife's crying. I feel like an asshole. Clearly, my job as a father is to provide and protect. And I knew there was exposure being a legal bookmaker, but you just never really think you're going to put your family through that. But I've already been through it. In 2014, I was raided by the FBI, and they came into my home, 14 agents. They took about $1 million in cash, just under that. I signed the form. It's called an abandonment form, and they took the money and never charged me. So at that moment, I kind of got a get out of jail free card in my mind, which was a mistake. I should have just went back to some legal business, but the greed of me and having to raise all these kids and the lifestyle I was living was very, very hard to walk away from and start over. So when I signed over the money, I was like, you know what, this is the worst case scenario. It's not the end of the world, right? $1 million. I mean, I can make that easy. So that was kind of my moment in time that I had an opportunity to change my life, and I didn't take it. So 11 years later, well, I should say it was actually 9 years later, when the feds came this time. The feel was just so much different. Not only did I could tell just by the way that they were, well, number one, the way they were handling things, but number two, it was just so much more serious. And plus, once they started talking about Resorts World and Las Vegas, I knew that I was not really the prize that they were looking for. The prize was Las Vegas and the casinos. I was just a token to get to it.
Who do you think's behind it?
There's a guy out there named Robert Cipriani, Robin Hood 702. He's known as on Twitter. He's a federal informant. He does give the federal. He had a beef with Scott Sabella at Resorts World, so he's been known to be the guy that kind of started this whole thing. But I don't know yet. Maybe I'll know after I see the judge when I get some information on who's coming, who's been cooperating. But I'm really not sure. This case is so big and there's so many people involved. It's hard. I think it's multiple people.
Well, Scott Sabella is a big executive with the casinos. He was actually my ex's who is now like a, I don't know what her title is, but she's a big marketing executive at one of the casino chains.
Right.
I think she worked right under Scott.
She did. I knew her. In fact, she helped me at Bellagio several times back when I was much younger. But long story short, Sabella had a relationship with the bookmaker, and the bookmaker who got in trouble in 2020 when they raided him. That's what led them to Sabella, from my understanding. So of course, seeing phone conversations, and he ended up paying a fine, and he has a felony charge right now for already pleading guilty. And I believe that is a part of this whole thing. They want money from the casinos, clearly, to pay a fine. And they were definitely looking the other way, turning a blind eye when it comes to bookmakers and who knows what else. Could be drug dealers. I'm not even sure. But clearly they were looking the other way, because it's very obvious when you have a guy like myself who doesn't pay $13 million in taxes in a year, is coming to Las Vegas and blows 13 million. The money's coming from somewhere. So they knew that. I mean, it's very easy to, you can see the numbers, right? The KYC is they're supposed to know their customer. So there's no fight there for them.
Well, walk me through how you make money. Because if I give you $100,000, you fly to Vegas and give it to the Resorts World, and I win. Well, don't I know the odds? Don't you owe me what you won?
Well, what I did in Las Vegas was just a personal, my own gambling. I didn't, if you bet 100,000 with me on anything, I was the casino, I was the house. So if you won, I would pay you. If you lost, I would keep it, right? My business was just based on being the casino of California, well, in California, but it was nationwide. So what I would choose to do to market my business and get more celebrities, athletes, business entrepreneurs, whatnot, I would go to casinos and find gamblers in the sports book, in the casino, on the golf course, wherever, and get them to play with me in my online, my online casino slash sports book, as opposed to going to Vegas. Because let's be real, California has a lot of people with money, right? A lot of gamblers. They can't bet sports here, so they find bookies, and I took advantage of that. instead of them flying to Las Vegas every day to make a bet, which if you're an eye surgeon, you can't do that. If you're whatever you do for a living, so you're going to bet with a bookie. So you find a bookie you trust, you find a guy who pays, and you build a relationship. And my business, I was a CEO of a business. That's all it was. And I provided a service and people enjoyed the service. The problem is that it's illegal in this state and they're never going to give a license to a guy like me or you. It's always a DraftKings or a FanDuel. No mom and pop shop is ever going to have a gaming license anyway. That's the
So
problem.
yeah, so if I gave you 100 grand and I lost, you make 100 grand, but didn't you bet the 100 grand for me, or you took the bet, period?
I took it all. I took all the exposure.
So then if I won and you owed me, let's say what, one, two, 245 back, you would be out 145 grand.
Well, let's say you bet 100,000 with me, right? Just on a football game. You'd have to bet 110 to make 100, right? So it was all credit based. You would never give me the money. I would give you just a line of credit. You make a bet. Let's just say you made one bet for that week and you won. I, in return, would pay you $100,000 on a Monday. The next week, we would do the same thing, settle up every week. I would know that even though Brad won 100,000 this week, he's going to lose 200 next week or the week after or 3 weeks from now. So that relationship was ongoing for years. And every bet you made, I had the edge of getting a 10% juice, just like Las Vegas does. And over time, you can't beat it. I mean, there's a less than 1% that could ever beat sports betting.
Would you take parlays?
Everything, teasers, prop bets. You
Well,
could,
on parlays, the odds are more than just
oh
a
yeah.
mark.
I paid 10, 20 to 1 on parlays. Sometimes people would bet $2,000 to make literally 200,000.
So
Uh,
would all the other people losing cover that?
some weeks, no. I mean, I lost $5 million in a week multiple times, and of course, I won that kind of money multiple times. But over time, there's no way that if you're running a correct operation and you manage it with a bankroll properly, you can't lose.
So how did you learn to do this? Just from your years of gambling experience?
Yeah, I learned by being a degenerate gambler myself and giving money to bookmakers over time for the last 30 years myself. I mean, I love to gamble, so I've been losing money since I was 16 years old. Well, even before that. And I got tired of giving bookies money, so I just decided to jump on the other side and be one, really. But again, it started as a hobby, and then next thing you know, you start betting your friends all throughout high school. I started hustling. My dad, when I was 12 years old, my parents got divorced, and we grew up in Cypress, California. We were a very middle class family. Kids didn't really suffer getting anything. If I joined a baseball team, my parents would go buy me a brand new glove and a bat. And then at 12, my dad was an alcoholic. My parents got divorced, and everything, the rug got pulled out. We went from kids that got everything to kids that were struggling. So I started hustling. I was a paper boy working at a pizza store at 15, and then I started baseball card collections. I started taking bets, making bets, and then I ran a poker ring out of my house at 16, and I started making a lot of money. And then that came to a bust because one of the kid's parents found out the kid was losing too much money, so they had an intervention with my mom, and my dad was long gone by now because he was drunk, drinking 40 beers a day. So we just started hustling, me and my brothers, and my life became a hustle from 12 years old on. And so part of that was gambling. I'd go to the racetrack. I mean, anything I could do to try to avoid asking my mom for money as she worked 3 jobs to try not to lose our house. So from that day forward, I've been gambling. And as I started learning that I could make more money taking bets, it kind of became like an addiction to what I loved, but also a way to make money. And then when I got a job as a commodity trader and I started making really good, legitimate money, I had both ends, right? And what I realized, Brad, is from the ages of 19 to 30, I was a commodity trader, and I felt more cynical and more guilty of doing a crime, even though it was legal, being a commodity trader, than I did as a bookmaker. Because I was calling 70-year-old farmers in Iowa and Kansas and trying to raise money and knowing that 90% of these people were going to lose money, lose a lot of it. And even though I'm selling this product and trying to convince them to trade and whatnot, they had almost limited chance of winning, right? But in sports betting, it's different. I don't have to push the trades. I don't have to recommend anything. I give you an account. I give you a website. You go on there and you bet whatever you want. You bet 500 bucks on a game just to enhance the game or have a little more excitement. Guess what? You lose 500 bucks, to you it's entertainment. You don't even mind. I mean, nobody wants to lose, but it's just like going to watch a movie, but you enhance the game, right? So the people that were gambling with me, for the most part, I mean, don't get me wrong, some people would get out in trouble and have an addiction, but for the most part, they would right now tell you that they're just gambling with another bookie. They loved it. They love sports gambling, and you know this because you live in Vegas, and your ex would have seen it all. When it comes to gambling, if they can afford it, it's usually not a problem. It's just for when people can't afford it. Michael Jordan says it best. He doesn't have a gambling problem. He has a competition problem. Well, that's because he's rich and he'll never have a problem not paying a bookie or making wagers, right? But if you work at Target and you make 40, 50K a year and you're gambling half of it away, it's a problem. You can't pay your rent, can't pay your bills. So that's the way I viewed it. Is most of my clients, we had a personal relationship, and it was affordable money. It was entertainment for them.
How little of a better would you take?
$25 was a minimum bet, and I had plenty of guys that even bet that little.
And you did you write it on a notepad or did you have a computer system?
No, no, my website tracked everything. I mean, so I was one of the pioneers to go to Costa Rica, set up a website. Obviously, this is back in 2002 or whatever it was. And once I went there, that's when I learned how to scale my business. Because I had 50 guys, I was taking on my cell phone, I'd go golfing and writing on a scorecard. It was very old school, just messing around. But once I was able to actually scale my business, that's when it became a business. And that's the problem, is I realized I can make millions of dollars doing something I enjoy and feed my gambling problem. Because at the end of the day, I was going to Vegas blowing millions myself, and I just enjoyed gambling. So my appetite just got bigger and bigger and bigger because that's what a degenerate gambler does.
What was like the biggest bet you lost?
I had three guys. They were billionaires. They beat me for 5.7 million when I was 25 years old, and I had to take a loan on my house, sell everything I got. I borrowed money. I did everything to pay them. I had to give up those customers, and they ended in return went lost it to a bookmaker a year later. So that was my first really learning lesson of running a business with not the proper bankroll and just not money managing. And I really learned the hard way. But it was a great lesson because that was a moment that I said to myself, if you're going to take this kind of action, you got to stay in the game. You got to be able to sustain the power. And since then, I bet 4.6 million in 2023 on the Kansas City Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. That's the biggest bet I ever made or took in my life.
And that one won.
That won. It was great. But the answer to
What
the
do
story is I would have bet 6 million the next year. I mean, my appetite just got worse and worse.
what does it feel like to win that kind of dough?
The dopamine rush is inexplainable. Um, like you, I'm madly in love with my wife. I praise her. She's a queen of my life, and she's beautiful. And the best sexual experience you'll ever have doesn't even compare to a dopamine rush of winning $4.6 million on a football game.
Would you just go out and celebrate, or was it just eventually, eh, no biggie?
No, I mean, I would celebrate. Those moments were just too big. When my wife and I went to Monte Carlo and I won 1.4 million, and we're walking around with billionaires and oligarchs that have yachts bigger than you can imagine, and I'm antagonizing them to gamble more, and you're doing things that most people will never do in their lifetime. We went. I took my whole family, 18 people, on a private jet to Dominican Republic. We had a private concert with Andrea Bocelli and a private meet and greet and like things like that. I don't care how rich you are. I mean, those are opportunities that most people will never ever see in their lifetime. I played golf with Charles Barkley in the American Century Championship, Travis Kelsey. I've done so many things that it's all in my book that people will never ever be able to do. And that might sound egotistical because I'm a pretty arrogant guy, but I'm paying the price for it now. I mean, you said it best when we first started talking, right? Your liberty is more important than any amount of money. I have a 4-year-old boy that I'm going to be leaving and I'm going to not be able to see for a year, 2, 3 years. I have a 14-year-old daughter starting high school that's been crying almost every day because she's like, Dad, you're going to miss my high school. We're very close. I have a wife that I love spending every minute with. And I have 5 kids. So everyone we have a great relationship with. I'm a human element of who I am as a human is no money monetizes or makes up for what I'm about to put them through or what we've been going through. So I try to teach people, like, as greedy as I am and egotistical as I can be, the human element of actually being a father, being present, being a good human being is more important than any material things. So even though I sit here and justify, oh, I did this, I did that, it's great. And they are. There are moments that they can't take away from me, right? They take all my money and they're taking my liberty. But at the end of the day, is it really worth it? I mean, you're a great father. Those are moments that, you go out there with your kids and they're jumping on your neck. I see your stuff on social media. I live the same life and I'm about to lose that. So it's a really difficult moment right now in my life.
Well, you said 1, 2, or 3 years. Is that all you're getting?
Right now, my guidelines are 3 to 4 years, and I've done something that most people, in my case, never do. I've paid $1.7 million in restitution. It's already paid to the government before I even see the judge. So I paid all my fines. I don't owe a dollar to the government, and I pled guilty. I've saved them money, tax dollars. I've cooperated in every regard. I've been compliant. So with the mitigation that we've done, we're hoping I get 2 years or less. I'll know in 16 days. But you know what it's like to be in a camp. It's not. I'm not afraid of being in prison. I'm afraid of being away from my family.
Well, A, they get to visit.
Right.
And B, again, knowing that, it's like, shit, dude. That's almost like there's people listening right now going, dude, for that, I'll do 2 years. I thought you were facing like 20 years. Like,
Well, it says 18 years max. You know how that works, but the reality is it's 3 to 4. The most I could really get is like 4 on the top end.
you know that for a fact.
Yeah, yeah, for fact.
Well, thank God, because dude, I'll tell you what now, when you're messing with them feds, you go in thinking you got a deal, and all of a sudden, wham, he goes 15 years, and you ain't got nothing to say.
Yeah, you've told me a story we talked about off camera. Um, I'll be honest, my guidelines, thank God, are 3 to 4 years because I've never been arrested. I have no priors, and the First Step Act, and there's all these things now, thanks to Donald Trump, that do help white collar criminals. And so my case is definitely looking at a max of 4 years, but I'm hoping and praying that I get 2 years or less. And, there's even a shot of house arrest, but it's very minimal.
What do you think is the facility you'll go to?
Lompoc.
Low?
No,
Lompoc?
it'd be a camp.
Yeah. Okay. Well, again, not to downgrade the penalty, but you'll be all right. You'll be all
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. I'm not even worried about. I mean, let me be real. Going to prison sucks, right? Nobody. I don't. I've never been there, but we all know. I don't care if you're in a low, a camp. It still sucks. But it's not like I'm going to be, thrown in solitary confinement in a max. But the fact is, the bottom line is, you being a father, you get it. If I didn't have any children, this conversation is completely different. But being a really present father is the hardest part. I really pride myself in being a present father, and the biggest guilt I'm going to die with is not being able to provide and protect for my family for whatever time period I'm away. That's nothing I can do to take that away.
What's the actual crime you were charged with?
Money laundering, falsified tax return, and illegal bookmaking. The big one being money laundering, of course.
So how come I can bet my friend $500 on a UFC fight?
How come you can?
Yeah, I mean, like what makes it bookmaking when I take more than one bet?
Really is if you're running a business. At the end of the day, you're not even supposed to bet $500 with your friend. But the truth of the matter is, if you both are consenting adults and he's not running an operation, no one's going to get in trouble, right? But if he makes it a business and then he starts not paying taxes on it, now you're jumping in a whole different ball game.
Do you think if you'd have just paid taxes on all your winnings, you'd be in the same situation?
Brad, I'll be honest. I haven't really been able to defend my character too much. I started my Instagram. I never had social media until September of last year, and it's really amazing the power of social media. I had to hide everything in my life for the first 48 years, and you being big on social media, get this: the power of actually giving a little bit of my character and narrative has been nice. because the media portrayed me as a predator, I'm preying on people for gambling or whatever. And of course, they just show the pictures, and he didn't pay taxes and this and that. That's not even true. If you go look at my tax returns, which they state in 2022, I paid over $650,000 in taxes. That's the year I got in trouble. So I paid a lot in taxes. If you go look at my Social Security, when I'm 65, I think it is, I've paid so much in my lifetime in taxes. I'm getting a big chunk every month. But the point is, the reason I'm saying this, did I pay the proper amount? No, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm an angel and I did. The issue that I have is that I wrote off my gambling losses against my business because I would go to Vegas and lose a lot of money. And that was the part that the IRS does not allow. So that's actually where the confusion, well, I'm not going to say confusion, that's where the crime was committed. So if I would have did things differently there, yes, my crime would be much less. I mean, take away the false tax return alone, that's 5 years. So I probably wouldn't even be looking at a prison time. I might be looking at maybe house arrest or probation.
So bookmaking itself isn't that big of a deal.
No, definitely not. 3 years,
A-
no chance I'd be going to prison just for bookmaking.
And money laundering, they just throw that at everybody.
Yeah, that's the problem. So I want to explain that. Money laundering, there's so many ways to money launder that they call money laundering. I have been debanked for the last 15 years at every bank. I open an account at Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, US Bank, Union Bank. I can go on and on, literally 30 banks. Every one has thrown me out. So, as a human being who's trying to pay taxes and pay a mortgage and, family things, schools, whatever, you need some form of banking. So I've had to use other people to receive wires and checks and etc., so that they could receive the money because I can't put it in my own bank account. Now that's money laundering because I'm using somebody else, but it's not so I could hide it. It's not so I don't pay taxes on it, but yet that is money laundering. So again, I'm not defending my crime, but the reality is I try to explain this to the United States government. You wouldn't allow me to have a bank account. So how am I supposed to put it in my name under, without using somebody else? But there's
Why would the bank not accept your money because they knew it was fraudulent?
Yes, because of the government's pressure for KYC, knowing your customer. If somebody's doing something illegal, they're supposed to throw you out, just like the casinos are.
So if I walk into a bank and say, "Hey, I want to deposit $1 million," what they say, "Where is it from?"
Oh, especially now. Not only where's it from, they're gonna ask you so many questions. Even you.
Now they're starting to ask, "Where's it going?" Like, what do you need that for? It's like none of your damn business.
It's really bad now. You're correct. If you walk into a bank, even you have a bona fide business, you pay taxes. If you walk into Bank of America and try to withdraw 30,000 in cash, you're gonna get. They're gonna want to know the scope of your butthole.
So I mean, well, I want to know. Well, that's a whole nother conversation. Because to me, like, dude, then I'll just put my money somewhere else. Where did you put your money?
So I had to clearly move it around. I ended up opening a credit union. That's where I'm at now. But I've opened bank accounts. I'll last like 6 months, and then I end up going somewhere else. But what I had to do was have someone else receive the money. Then this is why I went to Las Vegas, or one of the reasons. The other reason I love to gamble. And then I would have that person send the money to Las Vegas. We would go to Las Vegas, pull the credit line out, and then he would cash it out and give me cash so I could pay things. And that is money laundering. I get it, but I was forced to do it that way. I didn't choose to.
Had you had a bank account, you would have just deposited it all in your bank account.
Absolutely. You know what the biggest red flag is for banks to throw you out? Cash deposits.
Cash deposits.
Yep, because you can't explain it. They want everything traceable. But if I put cash into my bank account, I'm showing them that I'm going to pay taxes on this cash and I'm going to pay my bills. But that wasn't the way I could do it.
Yeah, because everything you put in the bank or take out of the bank is tracked.
Correct. And I
So,
truly wanted to do that. Like I didn't want to use using other people to receive these large amounts of wires, etc. Not only exposes them, but of course I have to give them a little rip for doing it. Then I got to coordinate it all. It was a lot of work.
so what's the deal with old Shohei Otani?
Shohei Ohtani never gambled at all personally, but the interpreter who I met at a poker game after the Angels game, who I was friendly with a lot of baseball players. I went to a private poker game. The Angels played the Padres back in 2000, I think it was 21, maybe 22, 22, I think. And I went to the game and I hung out with him. We played poker afterwards. And he was betting on his app on a phone. And so he got introduced to me. Of course, that's the service I provided. So he asked for an account. I gave him a really small account. It started off at 1,000 a game, $8,000 credit line. And within about, I'd say 3 to 4 weeks, he was sending a wire for $300,000. And of course, he paid. So he asked for more credit. So what did I do? I gave more credit. And things escalated very quickly. And he bet $326 million through my website in about 20 months, which is wild. I mean, it's a full-time job in itself.
How much?
$326 million
Gambled.
gambled through my website in 20 months.
Shohei.
No, Ipe, the interpreter. So
So
Shohei, okay,
Ipe's the interpreter.
correct. And that's who I built a relationship with. The reason why Shohei got brought into the mix is the wire transfers were from his bank account.
So do you think Ipe gave it to Shohei to wire to you?
I think Ipe stole the money, which is why he's in federal prison right now.
Is he so do you think Shohei's completely innocent? How do you be innocent knowing millions of dollars is coming in and out of your bank account?
Well, if you pull aside 9 out of 10 people, they all think Shohei was the one gambling. I understand that perception. I would too. The only people that know the real truth is Shohei Ohtani and Ipe Mizuhara. I'm the third closest to this, and I know for a fact that there was no bets on baseball. That I can guarantee. Do I believe Shohei bet? No, and I'll tell you why. Brad, I was hanging out with these guys. I'd go to their games. I'd go to spring training. I go to casinos with them afterwards and gamble. These baseball players, not Shohei, but Shohei Ohtani would be on the mound throwing a 102-mile-an-hour fastball while bets were firing in through my website. I think he's a very talented baseball player, but it's very hard to be on a cell phone on the mound and pitching a ball at the same time and putting in bets. So we all know that, I know that Ipe was putting the bets in from the dugout. Now, here's the part that I still believe is a little bit in question. Exactly what you said. How does 16 point was end up being $17 million? How does that disappear from your account and you have no idea? Well, he is the most focused baseball player ever. He does really nothing but just work out and play baseball. But do I think that maybe they were such close friends, he helped him out? Yeah, I mean, I think he probably said, yeah, you need to borrow some money. You got a little problem. Go ahead. I don't think he okayed
Well,
all 7 million, but
he would have to have access to his bank accounts.
well, he had to because he didn't speak English. So the interpreter was the one, which they have tape recording of him calling the bank and actually acting like he's Shohei Ohtani. They have that recordings that those have been put out on the internet.
Who is Ipe Mizuhara?
That's the interpreter, the one who speaks
I
for
know,
him.
but like that's it. He's an interpreter. That's it.
Well, they were best friends, in truth. I mean, they hung out every second of the day together, literally. He would like take his dog walking. He would go get his, dry cleaning. I mean, he did everything. His personal assistant. He was literally his best friend.
Well, it sounds like he must have been. How do you give your dog walker and an interpreter access to your bank account?
I mean, I think part of that's because he had to, because he doesn't speak English, but to communicate and do things in America. But the reality is, I mean, you're right. I mean, how do you allow, without even looking at access to your bank account over that long period of time, right? If I had access to your bank account for a week, I could steal from you and rob from you. You may not notice, but within 18, 20 months, I think you'd see if there's money missing.
You definitely see it. And again, I mean, I got to a point where it's like my bank account goes up, my bank account goes down. You can, you got a general idea. I don't know where every dime is going, and I approve credit card charges because I just assume it's all mine. I don't scrutinize every dime. So
Right.
maybe at his level, you can get away with, you know, million here, maybe. I don't know what
Right.
he makes. What kind of income's Shohei making?
Well, he signed a $700 million contract, and his endorsements, he's a billionaire basically. But the truth is, that money that I kind of figured it out on my own, to be honest with you, Brad. The wire transfers that he was sending me were periodic. Like he would owe me 8 million, and he'd say, "Hey, I could send you 500,000 on next Tuesday." So in hindsight, I now realize, because I didn't know he was stealing, I didn't ask, I didn't care. I mean, I was frankly running a business and I was getting paid a lot of money. So my head was down. And one of the things I provided in my service was anonymity, right?
How did you even meet Ipe?
I met Ipe at a poker game after the Padres played the Angels back in 2022 because I was friendly with some of the Angels players. I played golf with them. So they invited me down to the game, and we went down, watched the Padres and the Angels play. And then after the game was over, we went back to the hotel where in San Diego where the Angels were staying. And so I was playing cards with a couple of the players, first base coach, third base coach, and Ipe was there. I've never met him before at that time. And as I said earlier, he was on his phone putting in bets. So of course I got introduced as a bookmaker. And he would rather bet through a credit-based bookmaker than, as you know, you can't really bet sports here unless the only time he could bet some of the sports is if you went into the state where it was legal, Colorado or New Jersey. So in California, you couldn't bet sports.
Hmm. I'm not sure how I feel about that. What does Shohei claim, that he doesn't gamble? It wasn't him.
Yeah, and in truth, the one thing I will say, he's known to be a guy who's never gambled on anything. Whenever the guys go to the casinos, he's never went. Guys in baseball will bet on stupid little things like you throw a ball far or whatever, just mess around the field. Because I know this, I was hanging out with these guys, and the gamblers bet on everything. The people that don't gamble, they don't gamble, and he never gambled on anything.
Is he in any trouble at all?
No, he's already been cleared. They grabbed his phone. They could see that he's never even logged onto my website. He's never done any form of gambling. The FBI has already done all their homework. Again, the only thing I think that there's a possibility of is, did he help his friend? Did he allow him to borrow some money? I mean, and use it for his gambling problem? To me, that obviously it's not a crime. So, at the end of the day, and his friend's in prison, and I feel terrible that.
Ipe is
Yeah, he's got a 40 or 57-month sentence.
for
He's
what?
in for fraud, stealing, and tax evasion. So he's going to be there for almost 5 years.
Now, who's interpreting now?
They hired a new one, and I doubt he's handling the bank account.
Well, that would be foolish if he did. There's rumors out there that old Shohei and Ipe are like a little bit closer than you think.
Actually, it's funny you bring that up because most people, when I have these podcasts and interviews, haven't even asked me that, and I've heard the same thing, Brad. And it's I truly don't know what part of that could be or could not be true.
Well, that might explain why he has access to bank accounts.
100%. Because let's be real, if you have a real intimate relationship, you're going to get a lot further in life when it comes to finances and everything else, right?
Hey, that's how it usually works.
Yeah,
So
100%.
so you don't know it to be a fact or
I truly don't. I would never want to start a false rumor. I know what it feels like to be judged, especially in the last 2 years. And people do watch what's on news and then they just predicate and believe that everything's correct. So I don't want to start something that's false, but I have heard that as well.
who'd you hear it from?
Many people. I mean, literally, I
Like
would say
anybody close to him?
no, no. I
Just
wish I
more
could.
speculators.
Yes, for sure, 100%.
Um, so the Major League Baseball, MLB, like they probably got involved pretty quick. Did they approach you and say keep Shohei's name out of your mouth? Were you offered anything to like not talk about him? Like how'd they handle it?
They actually didn't call me at all, and a lot of people ask me that question. But I will say that, Brad, this is the fastest federal investigation that got open and closed in the history of the federal government, literally. And I was happy to help assist that because I do know and believe that Shohei Ohtani didn't gamble. And I do feel that he is one of the most amazing athletes I've ever seen. And I wanted him back on the field because the reality is he's great for baseball. And, I believe he didn't gamble. So,
Well, what if
he
he would have? Would he be in jail?
no, because he didn't bet on baseball. So he would probably have some fines and some problems. But definitely not in jail. No, no, no way.
So he's not allowed to bet on baseball is the deal?
Yeah, so baseball players are not allowed to bet on their own sport, but they can bet on football, basketball, hockey, whatever. The only rule that he'd be breaking, though, if it was Shohei, was betting with an illegal bookmaker, and that is in the rules of MLB players that they cannot do. And therefore, he could have gotten fined or had some problems if that were the case. But he definitely wouldn't go to jail.
Why do you think it's illegal to bookmake at all? Why can casinos do it?
Because the government gets their cut, and that's the main reason, number one. And then number two, I think that the other reason, which does make sense, you have a guy who goes and tries to become a bookmaker, and he doesn't know what he's doing, and then now he's creating problems by not being able to pay people and bad reputations. Or you have bookmakers that give out credit, and then if someone doesn't pay them, they'll start harming people and violence and threatening people and ruining family lives, stuff like that. I mean, that's a problem.
Well, that's where I was going to ask you next, which is, did you ever have to go collect from a big dude named Tony?
I've seen and done it all, Brad. I've had a gun in my head, which is a story in my book. I've been in multiple interesting scenarios, and some of it self-induced. Because remember, I want to be clear. I've also been a degenerate gambler since I was 16 years old. So I put myself in many predicaments where I couldn't pay, a casino or a bookmaker. And but I handled it like a man. I've always paid over time and worked it out, just like I did with the casinos, right? I lost $3 million one time in Las Vegas. I came home, I didn't have a dollar to my name, and I paid it all, but it was a headache, right? I had to make payments, and the Wynn Casino in particular worked out a payment structure with me.
What if you
But
didn't?
that's
What's their alternative?
well, they have the best collection agency in the world, literally in the world. It's called Clark County, and they will throw you in jail. So in Las Vegas, if you write a check over $250 and it bounces, you don't have the money to cover it. It's actually a felony, and they can actually put you in jail, and they will. And you'll sit there until you either come up with the money or you go see a judge, and they'll release you, and you got to make payments. The casinos have all the power in the world.
How are you handling the hate comments on your Instagram page?
I reply to every single one of them. In
What kind of
fact,
hate? What kind of hate are they leaving?
Brad, I've had guys tell me that they're going to raise my son while I'm in prison. They're going to bang my wife. They're going to don't leave the door unlocked. I've heard it all. It's truly it's amazing what these people come up with on keyboard warriors that won't say things to your face, but they'll just bash you. They don't know me. They don't know anything about what kind of human being I am.
What are they mad
But
at you for?
I think some people are mad just because they're Dodger fans, Shohei Ohtani, the whole situation, or maybe they're just truly. I think you know this better than anyone. I think they're mad because I have a beautiful wife and I've lived a great life, and to be real, I've done things that they're not willing to take the risk and exposure to do in their life.
Well, not only that, by the time you really investigate, dude, they're 13 years old in their mom's basement. They're not even real people.
Yeah, there's probably robots that are giving me a hard time on there. I'm sure you probably get some hate, even though you don't have quite the scrutiny I'm under. But anyone who's successful in life is going to get hate, and there's too much envy in the world. And you're right, it's usually somebody who's insecure, very weak in their own mind and life. And I have never in my life ever gone on anyone's social media and said one negative comment. Not even you're an asshole, anything.
Yeah,
I doubt you have as
it
well.
always surprises me when you like literally get these vile comments. You think to yourself like, why waste the time? If you think I'm that dirt ball of a guy, why don't you
Uh-huh.
just scroll on or just ignore or block? Like, what's
Yeah.
the point of leaving the comment?
Well, what's funny is, Brad, is people ask me all the time, why do you engage with them? And in truth, I'm new to Instagram, but it's really helping my algorithm and getting me more followers and more content. So that's why I engage with them. I think it's funny. I just tell them, you're helping me. Go ahead, talk some more shit.
By the way, Bomb Squad, listen, you guys can follow Matthew at Matthew Bowyer, Bowyer 5. Matthew Bowyer. You can also go to matthewbowyer.com to his website. Follow the story. He's got articles coming out. This is about to like be way more publicized than it's been already, no?
I think you'll see in 16 days, it's going to be really big when the Rolling Stones magazine drops, the featured article. I'm on the Soft White Underbelly with Mark Leda, and so many other things that I've done. Obviously, you have a very big channel. Very impressed with what you've done. My plan, though, is, I wrote my book the minute I got in trouble 2 years ago. I started writing and journaling my life, and I believe that I've actually, the view and the vision I had, which I've had in every business I've been in. I always have a vision and a plan, is coming to fruition. They're starting to film for my documentary for Netflix for my life. And, I plan on doing motivational speaking. I was a speaker back in the day for commodities. I ran brokerage firms. I plan on telling my story, and I'm hoping, the one thing that's really ironic on my social media is I did it originally just to sell my book and promote my story, but it's kind of turned. I'm actually getting so much inspiration and people that are coming out of the woodworks to support me. I mean, I get hate too, of course, but the ones who support me and actually say things, I mean, I'm just shocked that I've actually changed and helped people's lives by being accountable, owning my shit. I made mistakes. I talk about my family and what I'm putting them through, and I just show the truth of what this whole situation is. And it's been very encouraging to give back to people and help them in some way. Because, like you, I have a strong mindset. And when you have a strong mindset, you can almost get through anything. My wife and I spent 2 days in a Bohemian prison about, I don't know, 5 years ago. And that was the longest 48 hours of my life. But that was a moment I really dug down deep and realized, because I was with a murderer and this kid that was smuggling drugs from Florida. It was all kinds of stuff. I was locked abroad, and I really didn't know what was happening. The U.S. Embassy wouldn't help me. Nobody would give me any contact. I didn't know I was going to sit there for a year, 2 years. I have no idea. Didn't know if my wife was being raped. And I'll be honest, there were some dark moments in 48 hours. So I realized I'm much stronger than I ever thought I was.
Well, did you own up to it only because you knew you were caught? Why didn't you like fess up before you were caught?
I love when people ask me this because I'm going to be raw and real. I'm greedy. I didn't own up to it because I was making a shit ton of money, living a great life. And why would I quit doing something that truly was amazing as far as lifestyle and material things? But I think that's what I've learned from this. My liberty and my moments with my family and my friends outweigh any Rolls Royces. I've had Lambos, I've had 5 Rolls Royces. You got a nice Rolls. Those things are great. But like you said before we got on camera, you'd live in an apartment that was the size of a shower, a closet, to have your liberty and be with your family. And I didn't really think about that. I was greedy. I was flying high, doing things that rock stars and celebrities would ever dream of, literally. But I've learned so much and been humbled. And I'm just trying to be a better human. I've always been a good father, but I'm trying to be a better one. I think I'm a great husband. I'm trying to be a better one. And I'm trying to be a great person and a great friend. So giving back, I'll still have an ego. I'm always going to want the material things. I'm always going to want more, but I'm going to do it right. I'm going to do it legally, and I'll come back bigger and stronger than I've ever been. There's no doubt.
Well, it's very possible, especially, with the notoriety. Your book's called Recalibrate. When will that be out?
August 26th on Amazon.
And it tells all the stories.
Everything. And as you know, I'm filming with you right now from a studio. I'm doing the audio, which should be ready on the 26th as well.
Yeah, well, good. I'm going to be listening to the audio for sure. I'll probably get you to sign me an actual hard copy and send it up.
I'll do that with
Um,
a smile, my friend.
I'll tell you, the only reason I ask is, there's always people thinking, if you're so damn, ethical now that it's because you're caught, right? That's why you're owning it. You didn't own it until you got caught. Well, dude, listen, if someone asked me if I were in your shoes, um, why wouldn't you own up before you got caught? Well, because that's fucking stupid.
Right.
Like
Right.
why would I tell on myself? But there's a lot of people that do get caught and they go to prison claiming their innocence and blaming everybody else. So there is something to say for you to say, "Hey, listen, you got me. You know what? I was fucking living the life." And not only that, dude, listen. There's people right now, I guarantee you, Matt, there's people right now that would say, "Dude, 2 or 3 years, I'll do 2 or 3 years to live the lifestyle you lived." Because you were on private jets. I mean, people don't understand how much ass the casinos kiss when you're dropping money.
For
I
sure.
mean, dude, they will sign a piece of paper and send a jet for your ass, give you the best freaking suite for as long as you want to stay there. Butlers, all the food, all the steaks, all the ice cream. Shop in any of the stores. Just they will kiss your ass. It's like literally you're a billionaire for the time you're at that casino.
You said it well. And the reason I try to be transparent and be really direct is because I do have an ego. I love nice things. I promise you, I'm going after all those things again. That sounds really probably shallow, but I enjoyed them and I'm going to go get them for the right reasons. But I definitely was doing it because I enjoyed the lifestyle. And I didn't view what I was doing, the crime I was committing, being a bookmaker, to be something that was, I had no victims, I didn't harm anyone, and I was betting myself and gambling. And truthfully, that's the way I viewed it. But in hindsight, I wish I chose something else. I wish I was doing something legal and I could have done something even bigger.
Yeah, but
So
you were doing something legal and you fucked it up.
well, that's what I mean. When I say something legal, I mean something legal I had a passion for that I enjoyed. I hated doing the commodity business, but listen, I chose to go into the gray area. So that accountability has to be me. I look in the mirror and I know that I chose the short route, the easier buck, right? That's a fact. And I'm never going to say anything else because that's the truth. When I was on a private jet flying to Las Vegas, drinking caviar and, eating caviar and drinking champagne, I wasn't thinking about, am I getting in trouble? Am I putting my family at risk? I was thinking about going and having fun and gambling. And that gambling lure and addiction drew me in. But I don't blame that either. It's me. I look in the mirror. I chose that.
Yeah,
That's the
you made a
bottom line.
mistake.
A
Dude,
hundred
listen,
percent.
that's the bottom line is as long as you learn from it, that's what's worth more. Because again, I always tell people, you want to look down on felons when in reality there's a lot of felons that don't have a felony because they didn't get caught. It isn't that they're angels. So you're
Right.
sitting there looking down on someone who got caught. Why don't you just tell the truth? You're looking down on them because they got caught, not because they
Right.
did it. Because there's people that do all kinds of shit that haven't been caught, and there's people that have been caught and have the right parents and get away with it, or the right, you know, presidents and get away with it.
Of
Where like
course.
they're great, they're wonderful, but the person that got caught and has an actual felony to their name is the problem. When in reality, the problem is not learning from it. Like if you get out and next thing you know, 5 years from now, like, oh, Matt did something else. Like, dude,
Right.
that's when you're a dumbass.
I totally agree. And, at the end of the day, when I look at my kids and I realize that the mistake I made is really so impactful, I feel like an idiot, but I have to own it, man. There's nothing I can do. I started doing this when I was young. I make all the excuses in the world, but I made some very poor choices and now I have to recalibrate, which is why I named my book that. And I'm teaching my children that nobody's perfect. And when your dad made a mistake, what did he do after? That's what means the most to me. How did I come back and recalibrate my life? And when I'm on stages giving motivational speaking and I'm talking to NFL teams about gambling and preventing kids from screwing up their lives, that's giving back. So that's my plan.
Yeah. Well, in my mind, I'm thinking, first of all, did the feds come in there and freeze all your assets and your bank accounts? Did they go through you tooth or penny by penny saying, where'd this come from? Like, what was that nightmare like?
That was a disaster for sure. Yeah, I mean, the truth be told, they could have been harder on me because I think because I immediately said I'm guilty and clearly have cooperated and given all the information as far as my bank stuff and where the money was and where it went. And I paid restitution. So I wanted to show them that, yeah, I fucked up and I'm owning it. So
Yeah,
I
but
think
haven't,
because of that, they didn't deep dive anymore.
but didn't they go back and trace every dime you've ever gambled and say, where's the taxes for all that money?
No, in truth, they basically 2022 was the year that I was charged and in trouble for. I paid in 2023, I filed a tax return on every dollar that came through my website. So I made sure that I didn't create any more charges and I paid on all my returns are all clean as a whistle.
So is there any left?
No, definitely not. I mean, my house has a little bit of equity, but I pulled almost everything out to pay the government. I mean, I'm in a position where I own a jujitsu studio and, I have some smaller assets, but for me, when you say, is there anything left? Maybe to the average Joe there is, but to me, no, I'm starting over.
But you know, you're while you're away, your kids are eating, everything's good there.
Yeah, of course. I
We
made
could
sure
we
that's
we could
covered.
start a Matthew Bowyer GoFundMe account for your prison stay. Get some money on your books.
As greedy as I am, I would never ask that because I feel that would be the wrongest move ever. But I am proud to say that, my book sales is going to create some revenue. I'm proud to give back and doing that. I'm trying to find ways that I can monetize my situation so that I could come back stronger and take care of obviously any outstanding taxes I'm going to have going forward. And more importantly, really just show that I can come back legally and do things the right way.
Were you ever close to walking away when it started to get out of hand, or were you just all in it until they raided you?
I definitely had a conversation with my wife at one of my peak moments financially, but the greed just drew me back in, plus the gambling addiction. That's what I'm saying. I can only blame myself. I had multiple times I could have just walked from this business. I mean, how about this? In 2014, when I was raided by the FBI the first time, isn't that a sign to leave? I mean, my thinking of the way it was is I got to get out of jail free card. I gave them money and they never charged me. But
See, now,
the real message there is go do something else. And I didn't
yeah, but dude, how would they take $1 million and not charge you?
because I signed an abandonment form. And that form states that I knowingly committed an illegal crime. I'm not going to be charged, but I have to confiscate the money and I can't hire an attorney and go after the money.
So basically, they're saying, "Give me the money and you're free to go."
Yes.
And where does
And
that
that's
money go? To the feds?
Yeah, to the federal government. And again, like my analogy of that was, okay, I'll just go do this again and make the money. But the analogy that I'm teaching my children is that was a moment of clarity that I should have went out and just went back into commodities or did something new,
100%. Like that, all that would have been all it took for me, dude.
Yeah,
It's just like, whoo,
right. And
because that's crazy that they did that. You're lucky you didn't get popped then.
100%. And maybe in hindsight, I wish I did because I would have recalibrated then. But everything happens for a reason. I can tell you this, that there was a moment there where I definitely was, again, greedy. I was 39. I was like, you know what am I going to do? I can't be a doctor. I can't go to medical school. I got to keep my kids, raised, keep the lifestyle. But that's all an excuse. I could have did so many things, and I chose to continue to be greedy and go back into the business.
So recalibrate your book. It's basically a memoir that goes over the whole story, the rise, the fall, the peak, and all the stories that go with it.
Brad, it has everything from when I'm a child till this moment sitting here with you today. And it talks about, literally every part of my life, losing my brother, at 47 years old, he passed away, tragically. It talks about obviously having a gun to my head, talks about all the highs and lows of my gambling, all the bets I took, and really just the recalibration of all the trials and tribulations of my life. And I always tell people, when they read so far, the people that read the book have said it's absolutely amazing. And I say, there's so many people in life that have had far worse things happen to them and have done so much better than I have. So I don't want to, anyone to read a book and say, oh, he's been through so much. You know what? I haven't been through shit compared to most people. And I'm the one who's chosen to continue to do something wrong. So now it's time to do something right.
Did they ever threaten your wife?
Not really, no. I mean, I had a phone call to my house. You better save Shohei Ohtani in baseball on my home phone, but no one's ever threatened my wife, thank God.
I mean, like the feds, because usually when a husband does something, the way they get the husband to crash is they threaten the innocent, family members that were technically involved because that's your wife and it was her bank account too, and da 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 da. So I'm talking
Well,
about any threats where she might be in trouble.
fortunately, we never ever put a dollar of illegal funds into her bank account, and because of my banking situation, I used other beards, we'll call it. But the truth is, because I immediately cooperated and told them I'm guilty, I don't want the government to spend any more money trying to prove that I'm, guilty when I'm saying I'm guilty. That really helped. I think if I was an asshole and said, I'm going to fight or whatever, I think that would have caused a lot more havoc for her and for a lot of other people, to be honest.
So the second they showed up with red dots on your chest, you said, "I'm guilty. You got me."
Yeah. 100%. I'd never once said or even tried to act like I wasn't bookmaking. I mean, my phone had everything in it anyway. So what was the point? I was dead.
And being a father facing prison and being away from your kids, and all the time you're going to be gone. What do you feel? How do you feel about that?
That's the biggest guilt of my life. That's something I have. I swear to you, I've been sleeping 2, 3 hours a night. I can't sleep because of that. That kills me. I've been trying to spend as much time with my kids as possible. The other day, Brad, my kid, he's 4 now, and he put on his Halloween costume because we just got it in the mail, and it was a little T Rex, and he puts it on. He's bouncing around the house, and he's like all happy. Daddy, I want you to be a T Rex for Halloween with me, and I lost it, man. I'm like, I told my wife, fuck, I'm not going to be here for this, and
You
it's the
might
little
be.
things. Yeah, I don't. No, it doesn't look like because I go on August 29th, and you get, as you know, it takes about 3 weeks to go through the system at Bureau of Prisons, and I'm immediately going to report. I'm not going to wait any longer. I'm the one who's pushing this to get it over with.
Well, sometimes they'll give you 90 days to surrender.
No, they will, but I will say no. I just want to go. I want to get home faster, the better. To be honest, the anxiety and just the further I wait, they wanted to extend my case, and I chose not to, which is going to hurt me, by the way, in front of the judge.
Yeah, like, dude, that's probably something where I wouldn't agree. I'd have said, yeah, push it, and as long as you can push it.
That's what
I
everybody
mean, you
says,
never
but
know what's going to happen. You could push it, something could get changed, something could be different, like you never know. Like, I'd push that shit as long as out. I admitted it. I'm guilty. I'm waiting sentencing. Push that as long as you want.
everyone's told me that, including my attorney. Everyone thinks I'm crazy, but I'll be honest with you, because I need to move on with my life financially and start making money, and I really can't, kind of move on, so to speak. I'd rather just get it over with. And my theory is that by the time this case is still going, I'll be done with mine because this thing's going to drag on a while, and you'll see
So who's also going through this besides you?
many people, gamblers, bookies, people that are all playing through Resorts World. This case is huge. It
Is
started
there
in 2020.
When you say cooperate, did you point people out? Are you going to be like labeled a rat in prison?
I mean, I'll be straight as an arrow. The only people I talked about was Resorts World. And I definitely gave them all information about Resorts World because that casino was where I moved my money, and I had all the proof in my phone. So I just said, look, you have my phone. Yes, this wire went there, etc. But I did not rat or talk about anybody else, and I wouldn't do that. That we made an agreement that if I gave the casino up, so to speak, and gave the information that they were looking for, that they would go ahead and stick to that. My phone already had way too much information in it, unfortunately, about anyone I was talking to. So that spoke for itself. But my job was to just get this over with and plead guilty and say as little as possible. But as far as Resorts World's concerned, they were under a massive investigation already, which I believe they led to me. And I was happy to at least cooperate with the government in that regards to get credit to hopefully minimize my problem.
Who owns the resorts world? And are you afraid of any retaliation of them?
Genting Corporation, which is a Malaysian corporation. And no, I'm not worried at all. And I have zero concerns because number one, again, I believe that they're the ones who led the federal government to me. And number two, again, all the information that the casinos really have or did is all in my phone anyway. Like me sending a wire transfer or a cashier's check, they have the same records. They had to give it up as well. So you know, it's when you go into, in my opinion, when you go into a federal case and you're over here saying, well, hey, how about John Smith? You don't know about him. That's ratting people out. That's definitely cooperating. I didn't do anything like that. I never would.
Recalibration, in by definition is like to kind of recalibrate, change pace. What are you going to write afterwards when you get your shit back and now you're on top of the world again in the right way? What's that book going to be called? Because right now your book is a blueprint of how to recalibrate and get back in line, but you're not in line yet.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't you think you're going to need another one once you've done it?
I plan on doing that. Maybe I'll call it walk the line, because at the end of the day, we all teeter with it at times. Like, the one thing I've learned, Brad, is sometimes we all have opportunities in front of us that we don't see. I think that's what makes some people successful. I feel like everyone has opportunities flying around us. And when preparation meets opportunity, those are the ones who really succeed in life. I think I have chosen the easy route really since I was young. And I no longer am going to do that. For example, I try to stay in shape, right? I owned a jujitsu studio. Sometimes I'll make excuses. I don't want to go train today because I got to go do a Zoom. Well, I'm doing a Zoom at 9 o'clock. I could have went to the gym at 6:30, right? It's small things like that, making excuses to just be lazy or take the quick buck. In my case, financially, I won't do that anymore. I'll get my ass up and go to the gym. And that's a stupid example, but it really resonates in every part of my life. I'm not going to do anything that's going to measure in the gray area, period. I will walk the line and I will show people that you can make more walking the line and feel good about not looking over your shoulder and just continue to be bigger and better than you ever have been. Because guess what? When you're doing something in the gray area, you're always worried about that too. You always have to worry about, is my door going to come crashing in? And that does affect kind of who you are and what you're doing. So how about when you're looking not over your shoulder and you look in the mirror and there's no part of your life that you're not embarrassed about? That's where I'm looking to be. I'm not there yet.
Well, I'll see you there, my friend, because I'm already there. And let me tell you something, dude. There's a lot of strength in that position. I'll tell you, it's easy to get, sucked into things and it's easy to make mistakes. I mean, we've all made them. It's when we don't learn from them that
Right.
that you're I that's when I say that's when the dude's a dumbass. Like someone goes to prison because they made a mistake. Listen, we've all made mistakes. No problem. Like again, I forgive people easily, probably too easily when they
Sure.
when they do shit against me. Why? People make mistakes. It's when you repeat those mistakes over and over and over that you're a dumbass. So again, I
Totally
mean,
agree.
this is the first chance you get to say, wait a minute, I screwed up and now I'm going to fly straight. Again, you know my story, bro. It feels real good to not have to worry about anything
For
because
sure.
because at the end of the day, man, uh, you can do it without breaking the rules. And not only that, looking back in my life, people like you, and when I was growing up, when I say people like you, people that were doing well financially or at least visibly. They were making all this money. They were drug dealers, which again, I'm not like the real conservatives like, "Oh, you're drug dealers, you're killing people." They were dealing weed and,
Right.
but it was drug dealing. It was still illegal. And we used to envy those people because they had the nice cars and they had the easy life and they had all the fun and the parties. I used to want to be them.
Of course.
Well, dude, every single one, I don't know of one of those people that did not eventually get busted.
Of course.
So I think everyone will eventually get busted. So if you guys are listening to this podcast right now, I would tell you right now, don't wait to get busted to fricking stop doing what you're doing. There's a way to do it right. Take the money that you've made without being popped. Be smart. Give it up now. Go and start to build something clean. And I guarantee you, you will thank me later. Would you agree, Matt?
That's a great message. If I would have heard that message and listened to it 5 years ago, 4 years ago, my life would be so different, right? And never mind, maybe my financial, future wouldn't be as bright for a few years, because let's be honest, you're probably going to be taking a step backwards, whoever that person is. But think about where they'll be in 5 years. The thing I've learned in life, especially in the last 2 years, is I have a 10-10-10 rule. I talk about it on my Instagram. From now on, I think about everything. How is this going to affect me in 10 days, 10 months, and 10 years? If you make every decision with those three thought patterns in mind, especially on major decisions, your life will be much better, because we all think short term, especially when you're younger. And instant gratification has been my biggest problem. And when you're younger, you really, resonate with that. But as you get older, you learn, like, at the end of the day, you have a Rolls Royce. I've had five of them, right? They're great, but do I really need it? I mean, can I just do something regular and drive a Prius and I'll be just as happy, if not happier? And eventually you could drive a damn Rolls Royce or whatever the hell it is you want. You can do it legally. So your message is fantastic. Hopefully somebody who is doing something on the gray area will stop and learn from this podcast, because that would be a great message.
Well, you got to be a strong man to do it because, like you said, man, it's really addicting when you're in it, and it's like it's going to last forever. But let me back up what you just said with a thing I said the other day, and I thought, man, I got to get that word out. That's a good message. So watch this. Pretend you never got busted. You're still high rolling. You're still crushing it. You still know you're breaking the law, but again, there's no real victims there. You're bookmaking. You're
Right.
technically breaking the law, so you're crushing it still. And I say to you, Matt, you got one more day to live. Tell me what you would do for the day.
It wouldn't do it wouldn't be anything financially.
What would you do?
I would embrace my fucking wife and kids and spend every minute with them doing something just where everybody's happy and enjoying the moment and being present.
That's what most people say. Most people say if it was my last day, I would go spend time with family, which doesn't cost a fucking dime. So
That's right.
we're out there taking all this risk and busting our balls to get all this money when in reality the real shit doesn't take money. Okay. But people don't appreciate the relationships they have in their life because they're taking them for granted. And if you ask yourself, what would you do if today was your last day? The answer is I'd go home and spend time with my family. Most people, they
That's
wouldn't
right.
say, I'd go out and make 1 million more dollars so I can buy one more car. They don't
That's right.
care. And once you get to a level where you can have the nice cars and the private jets, you start to realize, I mean, yes, it's awesome. And yeah, I do want to live that way as well. But at the end of the day, that's not what's important. What's important are those that we're sharing our lives with and basically risking our lives with that you got to think about. And when you put it in that perspective, it's almost like, wait a minute, like, why am I so desperate to get this wealth when in reality, if it was truly your last day, that wouldn't even matter.
You're right.
Isn't
I
that
mean, think
crazy?
about,
And
what about Steve Jobs, right? I mean, look what happened there. I mean, at the end of the day, you would pay, or any of us would pay every dollar we've ever made in our lifetime for just that true health of not having a cancer or some serious problem, whether it's you or your children, your wife or whatever. Of course, you would do anything for them. But that's really another message too. I mean, how blessed am I to have my health? Here I am, possibly going to prison for 2, 3 years, whatever it is, but I don't have cancer. My kids are healthy. So I have to start, using my mind to be powerful in a sense of like, I'm very blessed. And I'm taking the message even further, right? At the end of the day, there's so many things to be grateful for. So whatever we're feeling down or negative, or we're complaining about things we don't have, let's think about what we do have.
amen. Hey, how are you with your faith? Do you believe in God? Are you a Christian? What are you?
I believe in God, but I've never been an extremely religious person where I go to church on Sundays, or I don't believe that that's what you have to do to, have faith. So yeah, I believe in God for sure. And, I definitely believe a higher power. There's no question.
So, are you able to live stream or go live on Instagram during sentencing?
I don't know that. I doubt it. You can't, no. In fact, I do know that you can't even open your phone in there. So no.
Can you sneak one in so everybody can go follow you and witness the sentencing?
I would love that, truthfully, because even though it's an embarrassing moment, it's, something I got to deal with, right? I'm going to be saying things in there, and obviously I'll be very remorseful because I am. But it's a situation I'm not proud of, but I have to own it. So I wouldn't be embarrassed to show the world that, because that's what's happening to me.
For all your followers and the followers that you're going to get from the show, go follow him at Matthew Bowyer. That's one T MatheWBowyer 5, Matthew Bowyer 5, right?
Yes, sir. I
And
appreciate you, Brad.
go follow him there. Get his book Recalibrate, which will drop here soon. You can buy it wherever books are sold, audio version, the whole 9 yards. And then on what day are you being sentenced?
August 29th. It's a Friday.
So August 29th, everybody go freaking DM him good luck. And then I'll probably drop this the same day. So everyone go follow him. Matt, just agree that when you walk out of that courtroom, unless you're just getting cuffed and stuffed right on the spot. Someone log into your Instagram so your followers get the first uh, news as to what your sentence was.
I 100% will. In fact, that's the first thing that will be processed the minute I walk through there, because again, I want to say this. I have a really good following already of support and people that have been very kind, and I really appreciate it. And it's really kind of opened my eyes to the fact that the world is going to be kind. There's a lot of mean, evil people, but there's a lot of people that have really good heart and humility. And it's making me a better person because I try to resonate and give back to these people truly, and to learn from my adversity and learn from my pain. And happy to do that with anybody who follows me. So I will.
All right, well, good. I'll be watching. Hopefully, I'm what time in the morning? I'm gonna go check your account. Like, dude,
No,
text your sentence right when you get it.
I will. 9
I
a.m.
hope.
is, I'll be in the courtroom. Usually it's like 2 hours. So I'm sure by 11, I'll be walking out.
Well, I hope. I hope you get house arrest.
Oh, that'd be a dream. If I could be home with my family. But hey, at the end of the day, whatever comes my way, I deserve it. And I'm happy to deal with my, as they say, you're going to do the crime, do the time.
Well,
So
number one, you're in California. They're very lenient down there. You can walk into stores and rip shit off, and they don't even stop you.
I know it's ridiculous. It really is.
Yeah, so hopefully, dude, California will come in handy, and you'll get house arrest. I mean, dude, house arrest is still a good ass punishment.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, listen, whatever I get, I deserve it, man. That's the way I look at it. And at the end of the day, I'm learning. I'm being a better person every day. I truly am, and I'm excited for my future, and so grateful for guys like you that give me a platform to tell my story. And I know you're a great human being, and I hope that we can become friends, and maybe one day have our families together having dinner, kind of laughing about this moment we're talking about here.
Well, if you don't get too much time, shit, I might not be around by the time you get out.
I think you're pretty healthy. You're going to be around a long time.
Folks, go follow this dude, Matthew Bowyer 5 on Instagram. Check him out. Go get his book, Recalibrate. And if you want, log in August 29th at about 11 o'clock, and we'll see what kind of time he's got. Until next time, do the right thing. Stop what you're doing if it's shady shit, because it never works out. Here's another example. But folks, trust me when I tell you, always keep it real.